Hello children, hope you are doing safe and good at home. Today we will learn Unit 3 non-detailed lesson, The Hour of Truth by Percival Wilde. It's a story where the moral or the message conveyed will be honesty is always good. Honesty will save you anytime. That will be the moral of the story according to me. Okay, as I always tell you, interpreting a story depends upon the individual. So you can go ahead to interpret the story how you understand the story or what is the moral of the story. Do you think you can go ahead to let your thoughts flow in your classwork and then submit it to me so that I can correct and give it to you only for the sentences. I will not interfere in your interpretation. Got it? And now, before we start with the story, I want you to go ahead to finish the exercises in page number 44 to 48. There are exercises in the textbooks. I want you to go ahead to complete those exercises and keep it for us to discuss all these in the other next live class. Okay, the next live class when we meet, we will discuss the answers for those exercises. Understood? Percival Wilde, 1887 to 1953, was an American author and a playwright. He wrote novels, short stories, and one-act plays. One-act plays is nothing but within, like act by act, they will change the scene, they will change the characters like that. So most of his stories are plays are written as one act, or everybody will be on the stage, everybody will act, and that's it. The drama gets over. There is no screen drop or screen lift. Understood? He also authored a textbook on theater arts. Native to New York City, Wilde graduated from Columbia University in 1906 and worked for a time as a banker. He began writing plays in 1912. Wilde's plays were especially popular in the Little Theatre movement. Percival Wilde chose to portray the values of life in his plays, throwing light on the specific trait of an individual. Okay, so Percival Wilde always portrays values of life. The moral values of life in his plays, it will be reflected. And mostly the moral values will be connected to the character of the person. Okay, a specific trait of a person means the character, the behavior of a person. That is how he will build his stories mostly. His one-act play, The Hour of Truth, is a testimony to his craftsmanship, where the three classical unities of time, place, and action are observed. The climax of the play develops rapidly and ends with a pleasant surprise. Okay, pleasant surprise. So, this play, The Hour of Truth, is a testimony. It's like a fact to prove that he is the one who will handle one-act plays, and he will also throw a light on the portrait or the character of a person. Okay, that is connected to the value of life. Got it? And this play, time, place, and action are classically observed. Everything falls in place, and the climax of the play also is a surprising climax, it seems. Okay, so this is about the author. We will go ahead to see the meanings first, and then we'll go ahead with the lesson. Wrecking, ruining, or destroying. Indicit, excuse, or charge someone for a crime and put on jail. Okay, accuse or charge someone to for a crime and put onto the jail. Testify, give evidence as a witness in court. Governor, the way John addresses his father. So governor, in this story, there is a character named called by the name governor, means John's father. Okay, go on the stand, testify during the trial in the court of law. They will ask you to stand in a place to tell the witnessing statements, right? That one. Smash up, complete collapse. Indignantly, angrily, angrily. Perjure, swear falsely. Perjure, swear falsely means promising, false promise. Haggle, argue or disagree. Haggle, argue or disagree. Reckoned, calculated. Reckoned, calculated. Remember these words when you read the plays, it will be easy for you. Misappropriate, to take others money dishonestly for one's own use. Okay, misappropriate means to handle others money as your money without their permission. Nonplussed, confused, puzzled. Baptized, named or christened. Of his own accord, voluntarily, without compulsion. Technicality, a minor detail. Shams, people who cheat others. Hypocrites, people who put on a false appearance. Pretenders, actors, pretenders, those who act in front of others, hypocrites. Apprehension, fear. Buoyantly, cheerfully. Piteously, sympathetically. Understood? So just go through the glossary again so that it will be easy for you when we read the story. Okay, so when we read the story, I will read the dialogue of the person. I will explain it. I would suggest, or I will nearly order you to read through the story after you go through this video. Understood? Only if you read the dialogues on your own, it will be easy for you to remember the story better. Okay, before, as usual, before we start up with the story, there is a warm-up exercise here. We judge people around us based on their qualities and actions. We brand some people as good and some bad. What qualities do you think characterize a gentleman? Some of them may be merely external, some others internal. Okay, so whenever we see some people, okay, maybe they are good or they are bad, we don't know until we go ahead to gel with them. We don't know what kind of people they are. But when you see a person without even getting gelled with them, without even being friendly with them, you will go ahead to judge them, isn't it? A person walking on the road with ragged clothes, then you will see that person and you will think what? Might be he is a beggar, or he is a person who is involved in other bad activities. So you will have a distance from that person. Might be a person who is well dressed. Okay, you may build up a impression on them that that person must be a businessman, must be from a gentle family. Later, might be the person in rugged clothes, might be the person who is true to his conscience and who is not involved in any bad activities, and might be the person whom you thought is good, a businessman or from a decent family, might be a thief, isn't it? So impression is always a thing that you calculate. It is not the fact that person is bad or good. Okay, so here in this box they are asking you, what qualities do you think characterize a gentleman? If a person has to be a gentleman by the outer appearance or by inner qualities, what is that a person should have? Okay, two answers are given to you: well dressed, courteous. Courteous is nothing but the heart to help others. Okay, so helping poor people, helping the needy, like that. Got it? So you can go ahead to say below well dressed there are two blocks which you can say about their outer appearance, and below courteous there are two blocks. You can go ahead to mention the inner qualities for that person to gain the impression of a gentleman. Understood? Just warm up. When we see few coins scattered on the ground, we would probably pick them up and sly or walk away ignoring them. What if an envelope full of 2000 rupees bills? How are you people likely to react in this situation? Okay, so if you see for a few coins on the ground, on the road when you are walking, might be you will pick it or you just walk away. But instead of coins, if there are 2000 rupees note that is lying on the road, what will you do? Will you take it and give it to find the person who is owning it and you will hand it over, or will you take that note without anybody else knowing and walk off? Okay. The answer shouldn't be funny. The answer portrays your character to somebody else. Got it? So even if nobody is going to see your answer or ask your answer, I would wish, be honest in answering this question so that you will understand what character you are. Understood? Yes? So we will continue with the play. Here is the play which describes a situation where the honesty of and uprightness of the protagonist is put in a crucial test. He is compelled by his family members to compromise on his ethical principles. Let's find out how he is saved from that crisis. Okay, so the complete play's story is given here. Okay, in this play, the honesty and uprightness of the protagonist. Protagonist is nothing but who is the protagonist? He is the hero of the story. Okay, this hero of the story is an honest person. He is an upright person. There is a crucial situation that is coming up in his life where he is compelled to leave his honesty and uprightness. He is telling that he will not lie, he will not accept to go apart from his moral values. But his family members are telling, it's okay, you do it. You leave your honesty for one time. You need not be upright one time. Okay. So they are compelling him to do so, to leave out his ethical principles and move out of the box. Okay. And did he do that or not? Was he saved from that critical situation or not? That is what you are going to see now. As this is a play, there are characters: Robert Baldwin, Martha, John, Eve, Mr. Marshall. It is rather a hot and sultry Sunday afternoon. The sun overhead and the baked clay underfoot are merciless. In the distance, lowering clouds give a promise of coming relief. And at the parlor window of a little cottage, and the Baldwin family is anxiously awaiting the return of his head. John, Baldwin's son, an average young man of 27, is smoking a pipe as philosophically as if the day were no whit more momentous than any other. But Martha, his mother, has made little progress in the last half an hour. And Eve, Baldwin's daughter, takes no pains to conceal her nervousness. There is a tense pause. It seems as if none of them likes to break the silence. For the 10th time in 10 minutes, Eve goes to the window and looks along the sultry road. Okay, so here is the introduction, means the setting of the scene. Okay, what is the setting of the scene? It is a Sunday afternoon where the sun is highly crouching. Okay, overhead sun's rays, and underneath even the floor is also like a baked clay. Okay, it is mercilessly hot. Okay, and there are some clouds that are coming up that is giving some relief. Okay, at time to time the clouds are coming, so that there is some dip in the hotness of the sun. Okay, and parlor is nothing but the house. Okay, little cottage. The Baldwin's family is living in a small house. It is called as a little cottage over there. Okay, anxiously waiting for his return. Okay, Baldwin is not at home now. His family is waiting at his home. waiting for his head to be shown at home. Okay. John is Balvin's son. He is an average young man of age 27. He was smoking a cigar, okay, cigar pipe, and he is just like that, sitting like no other moment in his life is very important as this. Like that, he is sitting. Martha, his mother, has made a little progress in the last half an hour. Means Martha is a person who was very much tensed, but now she is somewhat cool. And Eve is the daughter of Balvin. Okay, so who is Balvin? Balvin is the protagonist. Understood? So Balvin's daughter, she is not ready to reduce her nervousness. She is still nervous. Okay, there is a tense pass. Means what? Here and there she is taking a break, but still she is nervous. Okay, none of them wants to speak to each other. They are not ready to break the silence. For the 10th time in the 10 minutes means what? For minute to minute, who is walking? Eve is going to the window, looking at the road and coming back. Going to the window, looking at the road and coming back. What she is looking for in the road? Whom she is looking for in the road? She is looking for a father, Balvin. Is he coming home? The whole family is waiting for him. But Eve is even more tensed. She is walking through the window. She is looking at the road. She is checking if the father is coming, and then she is coming back. Every minute she is doing this. Okay. Scene at Balvin's means what? Balvin's house. Martha. It's time he was home. Eve. Yes, mother. Martha. I do hope he hasn't forgotten his umbrella. He has such a habit of leaving it behind him. Eve. Yes, mother. Martha. It might rain. Don't you think so, Eve? Eve. After a pause. Mother. There is no answer. Mother. Balvin turns slowly. What does Mr. Gresham want with him? Has he done anything wrong? Martha. Your father? No, Eve. Eve. Then why did Mr. Gresham send for him? Okay, so what are they discussing about? Martha is also worried that Balvin is not home, and she is asking Eve, this is the time he will actually come home, right? Yes, mother, she said. He always forgets his umbrella. Did he take his umbrella or not? I don't know. Yes, mother, Eve is telling. Okay, it might rain. Don't you think it will be raining today? Martha, mother is asking. Eve is telling, mother, please. She is vexed up. Okay, and then mother, okay, what does Mr. Gresham want with him? Okay, so why did Mr. Gresham call him? What did Mr. Gresham want from him? Okay, did daddy do anything wrong? That is how Eve is asking. Martha is telling, your father wrong? No, never he does anything wrong. Okay, then why did Gresham call him? Like that Eve is asking. Let's understand better. Martha and Eve hear that Gresham had been arrested on suspicion of committing a fraud in his bank. They are angry and shocked at the news. Okay, so now it will be clear for you. Mr. Gresham is a person who was working with Balvin, okay, and he has been arrested because he was suspected for committing a fraud in his bank. Understood? So Martha and Eve heard this news that Mr. Gresham is getting arrested, being suspected for mishandling the money in the bank. And now Gresham had asked permission to meet Mr. Balvin. That's why Martha and Eve are very much tensed, because Gresham is a person who is suspected and he is arrested. And why was he wanting to meet Balvin? So Martha being Balvin's wife, she is very much sure Balvin will never do anything wrong. Okay, he will not be involved in this fraudulence. She was very much strong in that. But Eve is having a doubt. Did father do anything wrong? Like that. That is why she asked that question to her mother. Okay. Martha, he wanted to talk to him. Eve, what about? Mr. Gresham has been arrested. They are going to try him tomorrow. What can he want with father? Martha, your father will have to give evidence. But he is going to give evidence against Mr. Gresham. Why should Mr. Gresham want to see him? I don't know, Eve. You know, your father doesn't say much about this business affairs. I didn't know there is anything wrong with the bank until I saw it in the papers. Your father wouldn't tell me to draw my money out. He thought it wasn't loyal to Mr. Gresham. I did it for my own accord against his wishes when I suspected. Do you think that father had anything to do with him? With she does not like to say it. With the wrecking of of the bank, you know him better than that, Eve. But did he not know what was going on, Martha? Eve, I don't believe your father ever did a wrong thing in his life. Not if he knew it was wrong. He found out by accident, found out what Mr. Gresham was doing. How did you know that, Martha? I didn't know it. I suspected something, he said. You see, Eve, he can't have done anything wrong. They haven't indicted him. Okay, so what happened? Now, Eve is asking again. Okay, Eve is asking again, why did Mr. Gresham wanted to meet a father? Okay, Martha is telling, maybe he wanted to talk to him, but he is arrested. He is in victim now. Okay, and why does he wants father to meet father? Okay, your father might be he is giving evidence. Okay, and Eve is telling, of course he will give evidence, but it will be against Mr. Gresham. Then why did Mr. Gresham want to meet him? Okay, and Martha says, Eve, you know your father better than me. He will not indulge in any of the illegal activities. So let's not think about it like that, he is telling. Okay, and Eve is telling, do you think father did anything wrong? Okay, and he must be knowing about something what happened in the bank, like accidentally he might have come to know what happened in the bank earlier itself. Might be that is the reason. But how do you know that? He was asking. I just suspect it, I just guess it. Okay, because Mr. Gresham had asked your father to meet him, means your father might have known something earlier. That is why Mr. Gresham is wanting to speak to him. Might be, yes. So Eve asked, okay, when Eve asked, how did you know that? How did you know that father is aware of the crime or the mistake earlier itself? Martha said, she is not sure of it, but she doubts it. Like she is thinking, Martha is thinking, but that her husband couldn't have been involved in this cheating, but still he might have known something earlier. Okay, she is just suspecting it. Okay, and she is also telling it to Eve that, see, Eve, nothing could have gone wrong because they haven't charged him. They haven't made sure that he is involved in that cheating. So Eve is continuing to ask her mother slowly. No, they didn't indict him because they want him to testify against Mr. Gresham. That's a little consolation, mother. Okay, so Eve's idea is, might be because the police wanted the father, means the John, to testify, to just go ahead to present as in witness against Mr. Gresham. That is the only reason they might not have indicted him. That is what Eve is telling. Okay, now John enters. John has come home. John is entering the home. John, look here, mother. What does Gresham want with the governor? Okay, so John is telling, John is who? John is the son of Baldwin. Yes. So look here, mother, what does Gresham want with governor? So all this time Eve was asking Martha, why was he called by Mr. Gresham? And now John is again asking the same question. Okay, and the governor is the father. John addresses his father as the governor. Okay, Eve, I have just been asking that. Martha, I don't know, John. John, didn't you ask him? Martha, yes, I asked him. He didn't say, John, anxiously. I don't think he knew himself. So John is telling, mother, why didn't Mr. Gresham call him? And he was also joining him. And she was also telling, I was also asking the same question till now, and mother is telling, I don't know. Okay, did you ask him? Why didn't you ask father? That's what John is asking. Mata is telling, I asked him, but he did not answer. Okay, might be he himself doesn't know the answer, like that Mata is telling. John, after an instant's thought, I was talking to an assistant cashier yesterday. Donovan? Yes. Donovan, I saw him up at the athletic club. He said that nobody had an idea that there was anything wrong until the crash came. Donovan had been there 8 years. He thought he was taken care of for the rest of his life. He had got married on the strength of it, and then one morning there was a sign up on the door. It was like a bolt out of the clear sky. Okay, so John is telling, nowhere I did not plan, but I met whom? Who is Donovan? Okay, but I met the assistant cashier yesterday. Okay, the assistant cashier who is working in the father's office. Okay, so he met that cashier yesterday. John was representing, and Eve asked Donovan. So the cashier's name is Donovan. The assistant cashier's name in the bank is Donovan. Okay, did you meet Donovan? Like that she asked, and John said yes. I saw him in the athletic club, and nobody had any idea about the crime that was happening in the bank before even the crash had come. Okay, so everybody knew how this crash happened only after this complete scene was identified by the police. Okay, before that nobody was aware of it. So Donovan also was there for 8 years, and he thought his life was secure because the bank was here really secured. Okay, and before they hit up this morning where it was a sign that they don't have job anymore. Until that time, everyone was thinking that their life was settled being working in that bank. Okay, let's understand better. After Mr. Gresham's arrest, Eve and Martha get the news that Donovan, another employee of the bank, has also lost the job. Okay, so Mr. Gresham was arrested, and Martha got the news that Donovan, who is that assistant cashier, he has also lost the job. That is what is the better understanding. Understood? Eve and father John, he says the governor must have known. He will swear nobody else did. You see, father was closer to Gresham than anyone else. That puts him in a nice position, doesn't it? Okay, so it is like this. Eve is telling, okay, might be father is having the job or not, like that. Okay, and then there is a discussion. Might be nobody else in the bank was as close as him to Gresham. Okay, so if he turns to be the person who is telling the witness against Mr. Gresham, then he is in a nice position to settle with the bank. It is not bank is not going to throw him out, like that. They are having a discussion. Martha, what do you mean, John? John, father is the only witness against John Gresham, and me named after him, John Gresham Baldwin, at your service. Martha, your father will do his duty, John, no matter what comes for it. John, shortly, I know it. And I am not sure, but what is right? They look at him inquiringly. There is John Gresham, grown rich in 20 years, and the governor paying along with the secretary at $60 a week. Martha, your father never complained. Okay, so they are having a discussion. Okay, when they are having a discussion, Martha is telling, what do you mean, John? Okay, what do you mean by telling that Gresham is Baldwin is much closer to Gresham than anyone else, and it puts in a nice position. What do you mean by that? That's what the mother is asking. The son is telling, father is the witness against Gresham. Okay, and he had named me as Gresham Baldwin, John Gresham Baldwin. It's my name, and it's named after Gresham. Means father is the only person who was very much closer to Gresham. Got it? So when he is very much closer to Gresham, then how will he be convicted? That is what is the point of John. Okay, and Martha said, no matter whatever it is, your father will do his duty. John said, I know it very well. Okay, and Gresham had grown richer in 20 years time, but the father and the secretary had He has been begging for $60 a week when they are working in the bank. That is what is the situation of the father. Why so?